when you hear about money printing, the first thing that you think is that it makes somebody rich. But then when you hear that that money printed went overseas to help with something completely unrelated to anything here in the US, you might think, oh, well, it's going off for a good cause or some cause. It's going away. How could that actually make anybody here in the US rich? If the money is printed here and then it goes away, then it's gone, right? Not exactly. I was talking to a friend of mine, and the subject of money printing came up. He asked me, he said, well, if the money is printed here, created here in the US, and then it's sent to Ukraine, how does that help anybody here? How does that make anybody rich here? It goes to the people in Ukraine, right? Yes and no. Let me play this clip here from 60 Minutes.
American taxpayers are financing more than just weapons. We discovered the US government's buying seeds and fertilizer for Ukrainian farmers and covering the salaries of Ukraine's first responders, all 57,000 of them. That includes the team that trains this rescue dog named Joy to comb through the wreckage of Russian strikes looking for survivors. And the US also funds the divers, who we saw clearing unexploded ammunition from the country's rivers to make them safe again for swimming and fishing. Russia's invasion shrank Ukraine's economy by about a third. We were surprised to find that to keep it afloat, the US government is subsidizing small businesses.
All right, so there you go. The US is printing money, billions upon billions of dollars, and sending it over to Ukraine to help feed a dog named Joy, to help give grandma a sweater, to help train a guy to use a metal detector in a lake so people can go fishing while there's an active war going on. I don't know who's doing fishing while there's a war going on. But anyways, it's going to a bunch of different things. You saw examples there. So munitions, actual artillery, tanks, guns, etc., things that go boom, people's housing, all sorts of things. It's going to cover effectively, according to that video, the Ukrainian economy has shrunk by a third. And to help prop things up, the US government, who has no real ties to Ukraine as far as I know, is sending them heaps of money. Okay, now the question that you might be wondering, and the question that my friend was wondering is, so how does that make anybody here in the US rich? If you send the money over there, how does anybody here benefit from that? Explain it to me. I shall. We're looking at my super in-depth infographic here, and I'm going to explain what each of these parts are. Here, you've got the Fed printer. This is where the money comes from. The Congress says make more money, and the Fed, they do that. They print more money, and there's suddenly more money. They're not actually printing paper, usually. There's a little of that. The vast majority of the money is digitally created, so that you can just send it with a bank. Then it goes to a bank. This, I imagine, I'm pretty sure it goes to a bank, because the money there has to go somewhere. Or they just tell the banks, here, you now have this much more on your balance sheet. I'm not sure exactly how that process works, but it ends up at the bank, because then the bank will then send it off to these various businesses. The dog food place, so that Joy the dog can get more food. The metal detector guy, so he can get a metal detector. And the scuba suit company, so that he can get a scuba suit. And then the fire truck company, so that he can get more hoses and fire trucks and rescue gear. All of those businesses, the 57,000 odd first responders, those are all people benefiting from this. And then also, apparently, Grandma's Sweater Shop, the different small businesses that are propped up, their entire third-ish of the economy being propped up by US dollars. Okay, great, Dell, I get that. But again, how does that help people in the US? How does that help one of the greatest traders of all time, Nancy Pelosi, make more money? Here's how. This is the politician mafia right here. These are all the people making heaps and heaps and heaps of money. But how? How are they making money? Here's how they're making that money. They have stocks in all of these businesses. All of what businesses, Del? Well, they mentioned a seed company. They mentioned the first responders. Those companies, those businesses, all of those things, almost certainly, because of the global economy, have some ties that come back to the US. What's the software running on those different machines? Was it designed in the Ukraine? Maybe, but I imagine certain parts of it were designed in the US. Certain companies in the US. Are some of them powered by AWS, Amazon? Maybe. Are some of them powered by Microsoft services? Are some of them powered by things that were developed and designed here in the US? Very possibly. There's a really good chance that some of those things, some of those technologies, some of the services, some of the stuff that all of that infrastructure relies on is designed, operated, or maintained by a service, a company in the US. So if you're a cloud-based server company in the US and a Ukrainian minesweeping business over there is using your service, well, the US sends the Ukraine money. The Ukraine uses that money to buy services from the US, and then the stock value of that business goes up. The Ukraine is using things from the US, like the guns and munitions. That's the most obvious one. If they're designed in the US, made in the US, and they're buying them, the money's just a loop. It's a money laundering thing. You print the money here, you send it to the Ukraine, and then Ukraine buys the munitions from the US. So and then you've got stocks in Boeing, you got stocks in Raytheon, you got stocks in Lockheed Martin, you got stocks in all these different munitions, weapons manufacturers. Then your money, the value, the stocks that you've got there is going to go up. And if you're Nancy Pelosi, you're doing real well for yourself. If you're interested in owning money that can't be stolen from you, then there's a really good chance you would like to own some Bitcoin. Now, I can't tell you that that's what you should do. That's for you to decide. But maybe you want to get some questions answered. Schedule a free 30-minute consultation call and ask them. Ask them if Bitcoin is right for you. Ask them if you're concerned about your money situation, if maybe Bitcoin is a good path to head down. Schedule that free 30-minute call and get whatever questions you have answered. Returning to MS Paint here, we see that the money goes from the Fed to the bank, from the bank to the businesses. And those businesses are any number of things. And that is how the stock price goes up. This is why war is so good for business. Because if you're in the munitions, if you're in the firearms business, if you make tanks, if you make cannons, if you make airplanes designed for war, then you're going to do really well during times of war. You are incentivized to go to war. And who has control over how much money is printed for war? Congress. They say, yes, print more money. And why would they say print more money for war? Why would they say print more money for the loss of lives of people? Why would they agree to such a thing? Because they get rich in the process. It's really easy to turn a blind eye to things happening on the other side of the world. When you hear about it in the paper and you just don't buy the paper, or you hear about it on the news, or you just turn off the TV, when you can label this group as bad guys and this group as good guys, then yeah, why not send them a bunch of money? You want to send the good guys money, right? Of course you do. Don't you want to be a part of this? Don't you, are you on the bad guy side? And I'm not even saying one side or the other side is the good or the bad guys. I'm just saying that I think we can all agree that whatever is going on over there is a problem. Can we agree to that? You can call it invasion, call it war, call it attack, call it unprovoked, call it whatever you want. But it is, I think we can all agree, a problem. People are dying. There's a loss of life over there happening, and nobody likes that. The parents of the children that are in this problem aren't happy about that. And because the US government is in some, not small way, funding this, can we agree that we're funding a problem and that maybe the politicians that are benefiting from this problem actually have a reason for it to continue? Can we agree that the entire system is a problem? Can we agree that a system that is designed on benefiting and profiting from problems is in and of itself a problem? Can we agree to that? And if we can't agree to even a couple of those things, then maybe looking for a solution to that problem, because at the core of my being, I do believe that every problem has a solution. If I thought that there were insurmountable problems that could never be solved, then I think I would be in a very depressed place. But I don't believe that. When the lifeblood of the world is so cancerous that it is eating itself to survive, it's time to look for a solution. And thankfully, we already have a solution. If you don't realize that it's Bitcoin, then I suggest you subscribe, stick around, and learn why Bitcoin is the best thing that has maybe ever happened to humanity. Now that I've explained how the money printing and debasement problem works and how people benefit from problems on the other side of the world, check out this video here, a little bit more positive, where Peter Dunworth explains how Bitcoin could hit $1 million overnight. It could happen like that.